We're days away from the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival, and I'm going to be vending there for the first time, so I'm in full-on preparation mode right now. We're going to be in the main exhibition hall, which I guess is a pretty busy building, and from what I hear, the weather at that event, first weekend in May, can be a little iffy. Sometimes they have really severe rain. So being in that hall is really great, and it's a relief for me since my wheels are wood, and if I were outside in a tent and it was flooding, that would be a problem. So we're in Booth D15 in the exhibition hall. Right now, I am just about ready to pack up my booth. I've spent the last couple weeks getting everything set up, and it's also been kind of a trial of the new building, you know, trying to get a feel for what it's going to be like to set up the booth. And the first thing I've learned is I'm not going to be setting the booth up in this room anymore because there's too many things happening in here. This is where I ship and receive and repair and stock. So the booth has kind of been in the way. So the booth, the next time I set up, which is actually an event the weekend after Maryland Sheep and Wool, a local one in Rush, New York, but that setup will be in the other building. So I was given a 12 by 12 booth in the exhibition hall, a single booth, which normally I'm in a double booth, and that's because I have all the products as well as the wheels where people like to sit and spin. So it's going to be a little tricky, maybe a little cramped, but I think we can make it work. So what I wanted to do in this video is take you on a booth tour and just kind of talk about some of the logistics that we're dealing with. The festival is the 2nd and 3rd of May, so it's Saturday and Sunday. It's a long day. I didn't really realize this until Rich brought it up to me, but Saturday's from 8:30 to 6, and then Sunday is 8:30 to 5. Normally, festivals on Sunday end at 4, so vendors have a chance to get everything packed up and get home. So I'm hoping. This is my first time, so I'm not really familiar with Maryland. I'm just kind of going off of, you know, what people have told me, but I'm hoping that we'll be busy right up to the end, because that last hour, with, you know, when you're tired and you've gone through the whole day, it can be pretty grueling. So anyway, so that'll just be something we're gonna experience, and we'll see what it's like. It's really, you know, I'm going in this year with a very open mind, like we're just trying everything. So I'm not that stressed out, not as much as I was when I first did Rhinebeck, because that was my first very large scale show. I was very stressed. But I'm kind of approaching this like, you know, this community is really loving and very supportive. And so there's really not a whole lot to be stressed out about other than, you know, the trip. So it's a 7-hour drive, which is pretty long. So the schedule, our plan is we use a rental van. So I'll be picking up the rental van Wednesday, 4 days, and then I'll pack it up. So I'm gonna unpack. I'm gonna pack up the booth. I'll show you me doing that, and then we'll load the van Wednesday when I come home with it. And then we're gonna leave early on Thursday and spend Thursday driving, and then we're gonna check in at our hotel. Friday morning, vendor setup starts at 8 a.m. I'd like to be there at 8 a.m. to get everything unloaded and then set up. Once we get the van unloaded, Rich and I have agreed he's going to take it and take a nice little day trip into Washington, D.C. He is a history buff, very interested in Civil War and Abraham Lincoln, and the Gettysburg Address is kind of where he's focusing right now. So he's going to take the day, and I don't know what he's going to do. We probably have to figure that out, or he already probably has it all figured out, and we'll talk about that on the way down there. We got 7 hours. But then I'm going to be setting up Friday, and my preference is to do it myself. It's funny because people always want to offer to help, and I really appreciate that. It's really nice, but for me, there's a catharsis about going through all my things and setting it up. And, you know, when I was a little kid, I used to love to play store. So, I mean, this is just fun. It's playtime for me. So yeah, so we'll set up Friday, and then we'll probably go out to dinner somewhere after he gets back from his trip, and then start Saturday morning bright and early. Sunday, I think what we're going to do is pack up and then start to drive. and go as far as we can. That's normally what we do. At Rhinebeck, we know that we can make it to a certain point. I think there's a Hampton Inn just before Utica. I can't remember exactly what we do, but anyways, there's one spot that we know we can get to without feeling like our eyes are gonna fall out of our head. So we'll do that on Sunday night, get home Monday, unload the van, and then take the van back to the dealership where we rented it from. Well, that's our plan. I currently have a discount active on my website for 5% off of all Majacraft tools, and this is because the tariffs were reduced recently. I sent out an email blast to my customers about that, and some have taken advantage of it, but that will also be in effect here in the booth, and I actually have to make a couple signs about that so people see that when they come in. Something I'm a little bit stressed out about is that the fiber mill that I'm using this year for the first time, they're in Buffalo, Wyoming, has not notified me that the comb top has shipped yet. So this is Saturday. We leave on Thursday. When I messaged them earlier this month, they said they weren't sure they were going to have it done. So it's probably not going to be in the booth. So this is my 3 colors of comb top that I shipped to the mill late last summer. I'm probably not going to have that, but I do have a lot of other wool products that are handmade. I don't have any mill wool, so if you prefer the mill process, unfortunately I won't have any, but I will be putting it in my website once I do get it in. They might surprise me, you know. I'm going to text them on Monday and see what they have to say about that, but at this point it's not looking like we're going to have it. And the logo this year is really cool, and I'm really disappointed. You know, one of the newbie mistakes, usually at Rhinebeck I set myself an alert so that when the merch store opens, I get on there and get my shirts and stuff logo, because I like to have something each year, a tote bag or a mug or an enamel pin or something, but we missed that, and the logo this year is really cool. So hopefully there'll be some stuff that we can pick up there, but that's always fun at Rhinebeck. I keep on referring back to Rhinebeck because I kind of see them as sort of similar, but when we check in at Rhinebeck, we always pick up our merch that we buy, and that's part of the routine, the tradition. That's really fun. The care of the sheep is going to be up to Andrew, and he's going to have a long weekend ahead of him. Morning and night, we, didn't have any lambs this year, which I'm not regretting one bit. I keep on having people ask, "Don't you miss the lambs?" And I don't. The lack of stress, there's so much stuff behind the scenes I don't share that's really difficult about lambing. The heartbreak and just the exhausting work and the stress of just waiting for those lambs to come safely. So we're not doing that this year. So that's actually the reason why I applied for this festival. Otherwise I would never have even attempted it. But so the chores are going to be pretty easy for Andrew. He's just going to have to give them hay. We do still have 2 rams that are isolated. They're in a separate pen from the ewes. So it's 2 pens to take care of, but he's done it before, and he's always very agreeable and supportive, so we're very fortunate. So this is my flock. They're ready for breakfast. They're waiting for me. I sheared on April 4th, about a month ago, and so some ewes have all their wool off. Like Adele here. And other ewes still have their coats on, and they still have their wool. So these are the ewes that I'm going to brew. And as I mentioned in my intro, or in my tour, there's Robin. I brewed her yesterday, the whole thing. I picked her to complete because she's, as expected, she did really bad in the grooming stand. She does not like it. But she's completely rude. And she's the only ewe in the flock right now that is 100% done brewing. So today I'll pick somebody, and it'll probably be somebody that was very annoying. So over here is Gertrude, the gray ewe walking towards us with the red ear tag, and now walking away. after I just jumped on my back. I'm probably going to roo her today. She really was annoyed in being in the stand, so it was kind of hard. Trying to get the hard ones done. Who do you think you are, a dog? Why do you think you're my puppy? I love you, I know. I know. All right, I'm gonna feed the sheep and then get back to my tour of my booth. The rams have been gradually getting more space. If you put them in a big open space after shearing, they're gonna attack each other because they think they're new rams and they have to reestablish the hierarchy. So we start by just putting them in a stall after they've been sheared and give them a few days to sort of work out their issues. And then we moved them over into this pen. We moved them into this pen and they initially just had the calf hut. And then I gave them a little bit of space outside of the calf hut for a few days. Now they have this additional space with the 3 panels. So I think what I'm going to do today, we have to have the rams in the whole pen by the time we leave for Maryland, because I'm not going to make Andrew manage the nonsense of having to open all the gates and care for them through these panels. So today I'm going to move the panels out a couple more feet, maybe 6 feet, and that should be the last phase before we open them up to the entire pen. And they're excited to get out because they're going to have all this grass to eat. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Rams. They're for sale. We actually did decide for sure we're done and we don't need rams anymore. So if anybody wants a nice pair, they got to go as a pair. Because if I only sell one, the other one will have to go to auction. I don't want to do that. But yeah, they're for sale if anybody's interested. Breakfast. So you see, I just moved that panel, giving them access to the grass that comes in the fence. You like that? This is one of those days where it was freezing this morning and now it's getting hot, so I am way overdressed for today. Honestly, at this point, I probably could just take the whole panel down, but we'll do that tonight. It's kind of silly. Guess we'll see. If I come back here later on today and they're dead, I'll know I gave them too much space. But normally, when I open it up like this, if they're still in that mode, they will have already started fighting. And if you do have rams and you want to do it this way, do it when you feed them. Because if they're hungry, they might be a little distracted from wanting to do the fighting and hierarchy establishment. Right now, between now and when we leave, obviously I've got to pack everything up and get it in totes, but I'm also going to be working on social media, so I want to make sure people know where we're going to be, what we're going to have, what I'm excited about. So that's going to be a lot of effort to plan and execute. And also I have a few more products, wool products. I've got 2 skeins of yarn I need to measure and mark. And then I've got a beautiful gray fleece that I bought from one of the farms that bought sheep from me. And this fleece is from a ram lamb from last year. There were twin rams and their mother died during childbirth. So this farmer came and took those two baby rams, bottle fed them, weathered them, cared for them over the year, and I was able to purchase the fleeces, and they are spectacular. Oh, they're so nice. These dark gray catnuggets. She doesn't coat them, so that they're VME, so I'm flicking them right now, but they're not too bad. So anyways, I'm hoping to have a couple of bats from them that I can put in the booth. I'm flicking a lock from one of the ram fleeces. And once I get 1 ounce of flicked locks, I'll put them on the drum carder to make beautiful handmade bats. One of my biggest concerns early on that actually I think I've resolved it is the Wi-Fi. So my checkout system really relies on a good Wi-Fi signal. And also Wi-Fi is important for things like if people want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, you know, if they can't get their phones open and get to the channel to hit the subscribe button while they're in my booth. That's tricky. Also, I have a lot of QR codes scattered through the booth for people to look at, like Ravelry patterns or specific YouTube videos that demonstrate certain, you know, things, ways I make things or tools you can use. So I've been kind of anxious about that, and the Maryland has been awesome because they do a new vendor orientation Zoom call, and then the vendor person is very attentive. She's emailing very regularly with information and stuff, so it's been great. But I didn't get a good feeling about the Wi-Fi, and I think I'm in a metal building also. They said there's a cell tower right nearby, and that, you know, that seems to work really well. But I did buy, actually I bought it when I moved into this building, a router that, according to Verizon, I can transport it, so I can bring it to pop-up events. So I'm going to bring that router with me, so hopefully that will alleviate any of the problems that take place when you don't have a reliable Wi-Fi signal at these big events. Because what happens is you've got, I don't know, 20,000 people in this little spot, all using their cell phones and, you know, cramming that bandwidth so that you just can't operate. Again, going back to Rhinebeck, the year I didn't use they had a wired connection. We were shut down for like 6 hours from, I think it was 11 o'clock until 3. We weren't able to do anything. It was bad. It was a disaster. So anyways, don't want to relive that. So that's the only, I'm not stressed about it because the Verizon rep assured me that this is what that's for and it will work fine. So keep our fingers crossed on that. All right, so I'm going to take you on a tour, and then I think that's going to be it. We'll have a little quick check-in with the sheep just to... right now, I am in the middle of ruing. I've just finished my first round where I just do 1/2 of the coat. I have a little system, and it's kind of odd, but every ewe gets in the stand twice for ruing. I don't rue the entire ewe all in one time. So I do the first half, and then I come back through knowing which ewes are going to give me problems, who's just going to stand there nicely, who maybe is a little bit more difficult to remove the wool, whereas others it's just kind of fallen off like a Velcro strip. So I know what to expect. So those days where I've got a little extra time, I'll do the challenging ones, and like for my ruing clinic, which is coming up, I'm going to pick the ones that stand in the stand nicely and are very comfortable with people. So anyway, so I'm in the middle of that, so I'll miss, 5 days of doing ruing, but I'll get back into it and work towards getting all the fleeces ready for my fleece auction. So I won't have any fleeces in the booth, but I'll show you what I do have in the booth here when I do the tour. Let's start looking around. So quick booth tour, the first thing is my sign. So I try to get this as high as I possibly can on the tallest grid wall I bring. I'm not bringing my really tall grid wall for this event because it's kind of a nuisance. But anyways, so my sign is the first thing, and it's got the name of the farm, our logo, and then there was a festival we did many years ago, and these women came on Saturday to our booth and looked around. And then on Sunday, they came tearing in the morning, realizing they should have bought yarn from me. And that's what they called us. They were like trying to remember our booth when they were talking on Saturday night, and they kept on calling it the Soft Shetland Place. So we just loved that so much, so we kept that. And then our name, and then we always get asked where our farm is. So I put that on there, hopefully to answer it preemptively, but most of the time people ask anyway. But anyway, so there is the sign. All right, so this panel here features all of the Majacraft product sell sheets, I guess is what I call them, for lack of a better word. And my sister Connie, who's in retail, recommended I do this. And the reason I have these up here is that they just answer the questions that people always ask me. How much does it cost? What comes with it? You know, do you have any videos? So I've got little QR codes with a playlist if I have a video on the particular item. And it's handy too because I have the barcodes on the back for the products. So if someone does decide to buy a hackle, a Majacraft hackle, I just give this to Rich and he can scan it as he does checkout, because he is my checkout man for these bigger festivals. So I really need him. Then I have my little wool balls with a beautiful picture of Brienne, who's no longer on the farm. The wool balls for crafting or for dryer balls. I only charge $3. I don't know. It's kind of just something to have to fill booth space. And it's nice because they're natural colors, so there's no dyes or anything. And then I have a friend that makes bags, little tote bags out of our feed bags. So this is the sheet mineral that I use, and she makes these up and I put them in my booth, and she gets the proceeds from that to put into her pin money. So that's that panel. So this panel features my handspun, and this will be right in the very front corner as you're walking by, because what happens is people walk by and they feel the yarn, and then they get it. They realize, you know, what's special about our wool, because it is so soft, squishy, elastic, you know. So that's what I put here. And on every handspun skein, if it comes from my flock and I have the data, I'll put the micron information as well as a photograph of the ewe that donated the wool. I am now in a position where most of the wool I'm hand spinning is from sheep that I have sold and has moved on to other farms. And so in that case, there's no micron data. Most of the time I don't have photos of those particular ewes, and it's also going to be their offspring, but it still has that really nice quality. So I'll just put, you know, my best guess of who that sheep is. This one here, I have like a little assortment of sheep from our flock as the label. But anyways, hand spun. I've got a couple skeins of this textured bumbly yarn that I make, which is really fun. Some flick locks. I don't know, somebody might want to spin. This was kind of, I just didn't have a full ounce in order to make my 1 ounce bats that I do. And so I just bag up the flick locks thinking that maybe somebody wants to try spinning from the lock. The 1 ounce bats, these are also from, actually, these are all from Cora, who is a ewe I sold, and I got her fleece back, which I love her fleece. I have this little demonstration piece here. It's thrummed mittens, and I had made a note. I gotta bring knitting needles because people ask me to show them how I did this. But it's thrumming, and so I just have these as a sample so you can see what you can make with our wool. I don't do a lot of knitting kits in my booth. It's, you know, the profile of the customer that's comfortable in my booth probably is a little bit more accustomed to using hand spun and understands how to convert patterns using the hand spun that I offer. So a lot of times first timers will make shawls or scarves or things that are kind of low risk. And I do get the question, how much wool do I need to make a hat? So I always have hats on hand and the scale, and I'll weigh an item, and then the person can say, oh, okay, so that should be enough, because I also always write the weight on the skein. So this will be facing the walkway, and then we'll just flip this around. On the other side, it's going to be On the other side, it's going to be the yarn I made from pin drafted roving that I got from a mill, that I didn't really love the fiber, although I've gotten really good reviews on it. But this is the yarn I made from that, and then a couple hats, and but the spiders really love it in here. Handspun hand knit mittens from that, and then my sheepy note cards, which are pictures I took of my sheep, and I just had Vistaprint make note cards with little envelopes. So, and people like to see the sheep, you know. And then underneath here I store my pieces parts for Majacraft. So this is where all my hooks and springs and bits and pieces go. And I bring this with me because a lot of people are relying on me to get their wheels back in shape. And so that's why I bring this, and I just keep that right down there. So that's those two panels. Let's keep going. One of the things, a big feature of my booth is that when you come to my booth, it's almost like a studio space. You try stuff, you know, you touch things, you learn about the equipment. So I have all of the tools out. Everything that I offer, pretty much, tool-wise, is here as a piece of demonstration equipment. So on the fiber prep table, I have a drum carder. This is the 128 TPI, a blending board, the 96 TPI hand cards, the overdrive head. So I have this at the table just so people can see it, and then if people want, I can put it on the Aura so you can see it and try using it if you like. I have a nitty knotty. I have a ball winder. This is not a Majacraft ball winder, but I have gotten so many requests from people for a ball winder, and Majacraft doesn't have the bandwidth to make one at this time. So I actually buy this from a company in Ohio, and I have this in the booth to sell. So I have this out to try. I also will be bringing my combs and my flicker, but those are both my wool cave in the basement. I'm still doing all my fiber prep. I haven't moved that over here yet, so that's over at the house. And then I have a little needle felting ball so people can try needle felting just to kind of get a feel for what it's like. I got my 1-row hackle. Again, all these things are here so that you can try. And then I bring a nice assortment of wool. Some my wool, some just dyed, because not everybody likes natural. So I bring an assortment of different fiber types. And then I have all 5 of the wheels out ready for people to try, which is the Suzie, the Little Gem, the Rose, the Aura, and the Luna. And I have 3 chairs. My neighbor loaned me these cool, they're like fire hall chairs. I think they look pretty nice with everything. And then in behind here, I have a little drying rack with just featuring some of the products that I'm offering. And I did that because I don't really have any table or anything there. I need to have space for the wheels. And I didn't want people to be confused with whatever is going to be on my neighbor's booth. If she has a table there or something, you know, I don't want them to think that's my stuff. That happens a lot. So I wanted to have some sort of a division between my booth and whoever my neighbor is. That's one thing I'm kind of excited about, is getting to meet my new neighbors. I always tend to make pretty good friends with the people that I'm neighbors with at fiber festivals. All right, so that's probably the biggest piece of my booth is this here. This is where I spend my time, where Rich stays at the register. And also I want to mention, it's not going to be sitting out, but I'm going to have all of my inventory. I'm going to have one of each of the wheels with me from inventory. So if someone wants one to take home, I'll have them. And then back here on this grid wall rack I invented is all the prep, all the tools, all these things, plus the heads, the high-speed heads, the wheel scanner. I'm going to be bringing a couple of each of those as well. So if you decide that you want to purchase something in the booth, I'll have them. We won't have to wait for them to ship. You can take them home with you, take them to the hotel Saturday night and try them out, whatever. So that's what that situation is. Okay, so this is the main product wall, and this is actually really similar. I haven't changed anything. Let me look and see here and just make sure. I haven't really changed anything probably since the last video I made. So I've got 2 panels loaded with Majacraft. And so I'm going to be bringing drive bands, bobbins, flyers, pulleys, whirls. I'm just going to bring everything that I have, or examples of everything that I have. I have quite a bit more stuff that I'm not bringing, but they're duplicates. And so that'll all be here so you can see it, look at it, get a feel for what it is, how it works, etc. So that's all that stuff. Then, I have the carrying bags so you can see. Here's the drum carder one. This one is seen somewhere. I use this to carry my drum carder to and from, but I just put it up so people can see what it looks like. And I'm not sure if I have a carder bag in stock. That might be one of the very few items at this time that I don't have in inventory. So like I said, I do need to make that 5% discount sign. So that'll be up here. But everything Majacraft is going to be 5%, including the wheels. I am going to be charging sales tax in Maryland. There's a service where they set us up so that Maryland gets their piece of the pie, I guess. So there will be a sales tax on top of the discounted price I'm charging. My string market bag. So I make this, I knit this from all of the wool that people have spun on my wheels, my demo wheels. And so it's new people, seasoned people, all the different colors, different textures. I just, when the festival's done, I take all the bobbins off all the wheels and I ply them together. So it's a 2-ply and make the market bag. So I always say this bag has touched many hands. There's been a lot of people that were involved in making that. And I have a couple others. They're over there on that display. Each one is different. The funnest thing about it is when I ply, I never know what colors or what textures are going to come together in the plying process. So the funnest thing is seeing 2 colors together, and I'm thinking in my head, I never would have dreamt of putting, orange and purple together, or blue and brown. I used to work with a guy that used to wear brown pants and a blue shirt. I thought it looked hideous, but these blue and browns plied together, they look really pretty. Anyway, so that's what that is. I have a collection of Christmas ornaments. I did not keep up on these, so this is pretty much what's left from last year. I have 2 things I want to do here. One is I want to make more of them, and 2 is I want to make kits because I've gotten people asking me, how do you make them? Do you have the patterns? So I think I might make kits for each one of these. I love my little snowman. I might make a snowman before we leave on Wednesday and add him to the collection. This is my assortment of 1-ounce unwashed locks from my sheep. And so what I do is, if somebody doesn't want to buy a whole fleece, but they'd like to try processing our wool, I have one of each of the colors from 5U. So I've got Mimi is black, Carrie is gray, Ty is fawn, O'Brien is moret, and Lucretia is white. So this is how I make our wool available to people that want to try washing a fleece and spinning it, or using it for felting or whatever. So that's what that is. I have some washed, tightly coiled locks. So either Santa beards or hair, doll hair. Also, you can use it to make your own textured yarn, lock spun textured yarn. So that's that. I don't have a whole lot of that. These visible mending kits, something I tried just because I wanted to give everybody a chance to try my homespun Shetland natural colored yarn. So it's all 5 of the colors on this really cute little wood cutout. Visible mending, so that's, I don't know. I mean, I hate sewing, so this is not something I like to do, but it's like embroidering holes in your jeans and making it look decorative. So that's something I just kind of came up with. Then I have 2 felting kits out. One of them is to make your own Valais sheep, which everyone loves the Valais sheep. So the form is the sheep. I've already made that, and all you really have to do is needle the wool in to make it look like a fleece. And it comes with a little red tie and a bell. So it's very smart. And then also similar theme, a super easy pumpkin you can make. The needle is in the bag with the felt, and you can just needle the lines of the pumpkin and make a stem. Pretty simple. So that is pretty much the product that I have. Like I said, unfortunately, the chrome top is probably not going to come in time. We'll keep our fingers crossed. So I don't have any signage made up for it or anything. So if it does come in, there's going to be a scramble at the end. And normally, those are just these enormous beehives, garbage can sized things of wool. And I just, wind it up and weigh it based on whatever people want. It's really nice to have that at the festivals, and I'm kind of bummed it's not going to be here. But that's all right. We'll get it next time, I guess. And then let me just show you my checkout stand. So as I've done more and more festivals, one of the things when I have help, it's really important to make the work as easy as possible. So normally when I have a helper, they work checkout. So like Rich does my checkout. And so I've invested in equipment that actually is tied in with my website. Shopify is the app that I use, and they call it a point of sale, but it's a system for doing retail versus a e-commerce. So I have all of the kit for that. So I have the scanner, so everything is barcoded to make it easy for helpers. I have my scale here, so that example I gave, if somebody wants to know how much yarn they need to make a hat, I just turn the scale on, grab one of my hand knit hats, put it on the scale, and I say 2.8 ounces, and then they can grab the skein of yarn and see if it's going to be enough. That's usually what the scale is for. If I were to have chrome top, I would also put that on there. But then also, too, some people want to check and make sure that it's an ounce on that and the bats. And so, yeah, I'm totally cool, fine with me. And also, like if you're doing something somewhere else and you need to weigh something, I have a scale. So you can always just pop over to the booth. I do have a card reader that shows you your what you bought and your balance right on the display. I'm hoping that's going to work. It didn't work at Rhinebeck because of some weird reason, so hopefully that. My receipt printer, so I print receipts if you need them. And then my tablet is what, is the interface for the software. And then I have my little gateway drug here, these drop spindles. Really inexpensive, low tech, but they're good enough to get you started. And I charge $12, just, again, if you're going to drop spindle this year, maybe you'll spin on a wheel next year. So you never know. So that's the tour. Very excited. I'm just really, really looking forward to seeing everybody. There's quite a few people that I communicate with online that I've never met. So this will be our first time meeting face to face. So I'm really looking forward to that, and just meeting new people. And I don't think I've ever actually been to Maryland, the state itself. So I don't know, it'll be fun. And it's also a fun weekend to spend with Rich. We always have such a lovely time together. So thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you can come back soon, and maybe we'll see you in a few days.